physical walkthrough of the bottling line. First, I'll do three-part. I'll do physical walkthrough, then I'll do menu, then I'll do setup. I'll record setup on a later date though, so this is just for reviewing the physical machine and talking about the buttons, what they do and how I use them. Again, this machine was rough on my arrival. It's been pretty all go since I got here, so there's not been much time to do a detailing like I'd like to do. I've done some scrubbing, but honestly it's in bad shape. It does work, but we're looking at about 90 seconds per case, so it's slow. I'll talk about pressures and temperatures when in the setup section. So first, let's go around to the back. We've got CO2 in, this orange line here. Beer in. I put a keg filler here, and I'll capture 3 kegs before I try and bottle, just to chill the line down. There's an air line that comes in. It's already hooked up and is pretty much permanent. There's a vacuum pump, but I have it disabled. I currently do not use it. I don't like the design on this machine very much. There is a pneumatics cabinet here with all your valves and stuff, and then your electrical cabinet is above it. Around the back here, we've got, this is our main cap dispenser. Caps go up the conveyor belt and then they get dropped through the chute. Probably the number one issue I have with this machine is that caps jam in here very often. It's some adjustment with the door or the angle or something. I've been messing with it for a long time and haven't got it. But Jamal is very familiar with that. You'll be used to it very quickly. It's not a big deal, but it is annoying. Walking around, pack off table, not much to say here. Just on off switch right there. So drive belts. So let's just do a quick pan. So control panel we'll get into in the next video. Coming down, you've got your proximity sensor here that's going to see 8 bottles, and then the fill heads are going to come down. This is your entry gate. This is more just space. This spaces out one set from another, and then there's an exit gate that spaces out one set from another, or releases. There's also called a straightener here, and that's going to go forward and align your bottles with your fill tubes. These cylinders, sometimes they stick. I'll usually put a bit of lubricant on them and they're fine. I do have replacements for when they finally fail, but I've just been riding these until the bitter end because getting parts here is rough. The filler itself is a pinch type system with a cylinder, and then there's these tubes that go through gaskets. If these strike a bottle, you can kind of just pull them back down into position and just kind of adjust. Like physically you can kind of move this tube and bend it where you need it to go if you have a strike. Again, this is coming down on 8, so if you get a miscount or a bottle fall in front of it, it can be an issue, but fairly rare. It actually works pretty damn good. There is needle valves here. This is called the speed tube in the program. The speed tube is what lets air out of the bottle as it's filling. You can adjust each one individually to get a nice even fill, and then there's also a needle on the side here to get total gas out, to control how fast the beer is going in. Your counter pressure for your purge also plays a role in how fast this is going to fill. I think fairly straightforward there. There's a start-stop button on the thing. You just kind of hit start when you're ready to go. There's many adjustments on this. Most of them are set and don't need to be adjusted again. Coming down the line, there is the serpentine belts that drive the bottles forward once they reach this point. This tightens and loosens the belt here, and there's another one right here that tightens and loosens how wide this is. There's quite a bit of variance in some of these bottles. Some are misshapen, and so they'll often fall over. At first I thought it was the belts, but it turns out that it's actually a bottle issue. So if I have a misshapen bottle, I usually just toss it. These days, let's see, the lids fall down the chute. There is a sensor in the back that sees that lids are coming off of the conveyor. There's a sensor here that sees that the magazine is full, and there's a sensor here that sees that the magazine is empty. So if any of those are not satisfied, you'll get a warning on the menu and you can adjust. There is adjustment here, up and down. You can also pull this thing forward and back. It's also spring loaded. It shouldn't take much adjustment. Basically, once you have your bottles, the set for your bottles, there's not much messing with it. And I've run many hundreds of thousands through it, so it should be fine. This is a lid hold down to press the lids in place. There's an adjustment wheel here. Inside of here, there is a sensor that triggers the crowning reflector sensor. Sometimes if the reflector gets too wet, you'll need to wipe it off because you'll get false readings on this. There's different crowning dies. The one currently in there is for twist off. There is a crowning die for pry off as well. So the twist offs do not have any etching in the top. You can see that this one has a number etched into it, right? So that's how you can tell them apart. If it's etched, it's twist off. If it's not etched, it's if it's etched, it's pry off. If it's not etched, it's twist off. There's a lock pin and a spring and a cap and a copper kind of puck inside of there. These springs do on occasion fail. There is spares in the building. So if you switch from one bottle type to another, you'll want to change out this crowning die. I added lock line rinsers down here near the drip tray. There's a valve you can open and you can have rinse for your bottles. Physical rundown, that should pretty much cover it. Like I said, speed valve. So bottles will fill with a speed valve. Once the timer has been satisfied, it's going to release the pressure in the bottle. Sniffed valve here. So this is a separate solenoid valve inside the control panel that will relieve pressure slower. I'll get into the settings that I like when we get to menus, but both of those vent out underneath through this red and black hose here. That's going to be your pressure vent. Pretty straightforward there. Honestly, this thing is pretty easy to run. The hard part is getting it to run fast. So that is the physical rundown. We will also have contact information on Chad. He's the inline president and he responds very quickly to phone calls with questions. I will also be supporting you if you have any questions. I can be your first line of defense. I should also mention on the lid thing, there's a vibrator here that is very important. If this vibrator fails, then the lids don't slide down the chute right. So currently it works, so let's just making you aware of it. There's lots of little micro features on this machine. I think that just familiarizing yourself with it over the course of a couple runs is going to be best. You have Wild Goose Experience. This is a counter pressure filler, so a little different, but the PLC and kind of inline operation of it functions very similarly. I would say it's definitely easier because there's no seam adjustments